Yep. All right. Here we music to get going.
Yes, that was nice. My morning exercise.
Morning exercise, morning dance routine. Well,
Yeah.
hi everyone, and welcome back to Everything Expedition Live. I'm Tiffany Dent, travel advisor, explorer, and CEO of Tiffany Dent Dream Vacations. So, if you are joining us for the first time, this series is your front row seat to the most fascinating corners of the world and a rare opportunity to hear directly from the visionaries shaping the future of expedition travel, which I cannot wait to introduce you to. So last week we had our premiere episode, which was incredible, and the response from our community has been amazing. And I'm really thrilled to continue the conversations that demystify expedition travel and connect you with the people making this extraordinary. So Everything Expedition Live brings you insider access to experiences that most travelers didn't even know existed, myself included. I said this on our last episode. Before getting into the travel industry, I considered myself a pretty well-traveled person. Now being on this side, especially in the realm of expedition, there is so much that exists that I was just completely unaware of and I'm completely blown away by. So this is everything from Antarctica to the Amazon, to the Arctic, to the Kimberleys. So each of these episodes is going to feature industry leaders who are really redefining what it means to explore. So my goal is to remain the same, that you'll walk away inspired and informed, and most importantly, connected to our growing community of expedition enthusiasts. So come for the content, stay for the community. So whether you are expedition curious or you're already planning your next adventure, you are in the right place, and I am glad you're here. So today I'm so excited to introduce our next guest, someone who brings incredible warmth and expertise to the world of expedition cruising. Oya from Atlas Ocean Voyages is going to
Hello.
be, hi, is really, Atlas is doing something completely different when it comes to expedition cruising. So you have picked a great episode to join. So I got to tell you a little bit about how amazing Oya is because she's phenomenal. So she is the senior sales director at Atlas Ocean Voyages and someone who truly understands the transformative power of travel. So she has over 25 years of experience in cruising, luxury travel, and air consolidation. And she has built her career on genuine relationships and unwavering support for travel advisors, which we appreciate. So she is known throughout our industry for her signature energy, warmth, and deep knowledge. And at Atlas Ocean Voyages, Oya supports key accounts and travel partners across the South Central US region, but her impact really extends beyond that. She is super passionate about expedition travel, which you are going to hear today, and she loves helping advisors grow their business while bringing these unforgettable journeys to all of our clients. And what I love most, and you're going to hear this throughout our conversation, she is super authentic, and that is going to come across. And she believes in the transformation and what this kind of travel really does for people. So like I mentioned, Atlas, they have a very unique approach to expedition cruising, and we're going to hear all about polar, Epicurean, and cultural expeditions. So let's dive in and hear about what makes Atlas so special, and welcome, Oya.
Well, Tiffany, thank you so much. I'm really honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me into your incredible session. And really, it's a true honor for me. And thank you for your beautiful words for me too. Yes, this is my passion. I love the travel industry, and I love my travel partners. They become family friends over the years. So I'm really so lucky to have such an amazing job. I've been with Atlas since 2021, 4 years now, and it's a very unique brand, as you were mentioning. We are expedition. To be specific, we are intimate yachting expedition, which I think we will be talking about what I mean by yachting, right? But so expedition, there is a misconception in the market, consumer side of it, travel advisor side of it, even all of us. When you hear the word expedition, we always think about the scientific part of it. We always think about the polar regions, right?
Yep.
However, if you think for a second what expedition is exploration, right? It's a discovery, to deep dive into a destination anywhere in the world, to kind of learn and immerse yourself. So at the end of your journey, whatever you're doing, if you're on an expedition, you really deep dive into those destinations and you learn. When you come back, you're changed, you're inspired, and you want to just do more and more. It's more about the, kind of like discovery. So it's not only polar regions, especially for us. We go to the world everywhere in the transatlantic, especially now. We are expedition in the Meds, which is Epicurean expeditions. We are expedition in the Northern Europe, which is called cultural expeditions. And then, of course, the polar expeditions are in the polar regions. But
Oya, you are starting us off in such a great spot. And there's, like you said, like 6 things I wanted to like jump into. So the first one, you're just expedition, right? As you know, this is one of the fastest growing travel segments out there. Why do you think that is?
The world is changing, right? And I think the social media and the pandemic, actually, I think, and we all think the same probably, that pandemic made a huge change and impact on the people.
Yeah.
So expedition is more small and intimate, right? What we are realizing, that segment is growing so fast and the demand is growing because the travelers, they want to explore more. They wanted to connect to the outside of their little circle. They want to go out and about so that they can learn other cultures. As you know, the pandemic taught us, all of us, that don't delay, right?
Yep.
If you wanted to really have your bucket list, if you wanted to learn about other cultures, just go. And now people are just doing it. And they love the expedition part of it because, again, it's small, intimate, that they learn about that destination wherever they go in the smaller, crowd.
I think you're totally right. I think it is, whether you're a very well-traveled person or you're just starting, I think people want more meaning to what they're doing, right? And if they're going to invest their dollars and their time, it's like, yes, who doesn't love a beach and a relaxation and, to do that, but you want to learn something. You want to meet new people. You want to see something that, you've never seen before and in a way you've never seen it. And I'm seeing that as well. My clients and the people I interact with, right? It's like, that is exactly what they are looking for, just more of that purpose-driven travel. They want to matter. They want to see what matters. Yeah.
I mean, expedition is not like you go to, Bahamas and just sit down by the beach or by the pool and just relax. Expedition is really more educational. You learn wherever you go. You travel with the experts on board. Those are the unique things that people realize how important, how valuable it is, because they can still relax, as you were just saying, but at the same time, they can educate themselves about the culture, about the food, why they are, for example, the paella is made in different ways in different countries of the world, right? So it's really an exploration. That's why people now are saying, okay, I really wanted to smaller, more intimate experiences. I want expedition because I want to learn more. I want to connect better to the rest of the world. So they kind of, I think, open their minds more now.
Yes. And in your first few minutes, like I said, I'm like, there's like 5 things I want to jump into here. You kind of highlighted, which we're going to show here. So Atlas is year-round expeditions and you go all over, including the polar regions. So you were kind of touching on it a little bit, but let's dig in and dive in a little bit to where are you going? And there are 3 very distinct expedition types. So let's get into that.
Exactly. So the concept or the brand kind of shaped itself after our president and CEO James Rodriguez went to Antarctica when he first joined us. And when he came back, he said, you know what, that was fantastic. And why don't we do the same and adopt it to the other regions of the world? Let's be an expedition year round so that we can explore the world with experts on board. So, as I was mentioning, when we are in the polar regions, Antarctica, high Arctic, Greenland, Patagonia, and the Falklands, we have expedition experts on board that they travel with us, and we call it polar expeditions. We kind of start in November and end our season mid-March. And then we move up to the Mediterranean. When you think about the Meds, what do you think first? You think about the food, the wine.
Yes. Yes.
So basically, we replace those expedition experts with the guest chefs. So the guest chefs becomes the experts for the food and the wine of the regions. Now, again, we go into the cultures of somewhat, but the main focus in the Meds is having the chefs on board. You sail with them, you shop with them, you cook with them, cooking demonstrations. You really understand why that honey is so delicious in Greece or olive oil, how they become what they are. Wines, why Chianti is different and it's only for that particular region versus why Champagne is only called Champagne if you're thinking about Champagne. So it's really deep dive into the culinary aspect of it with the experts on board. Again, it's an expedition, right?
Yeah.
And then when we are in the Iceland, Northern Europe, Caribbean, South America, transoceanic, when we are repositioning, we call it cultural expeditions. Again, some of the itineraries overlap with the Epicurean expedition. That lucky you may have guest chef on board.
Now,
Plus,
would we recognize any of these chefs' names?
yes, like Food Network. I forgot his name. I was just with them actually. Peter and Bob. Oh, if they are listening, they're gonna kill me because I don't remember their last names.
But just tune into the Food Network and you'll know them.
Yeah, correct. Like the Iron Chefs. Yeah, we do have expert. And Mara is our actually foodie expert, and she puts everything together too. So we're very proud of those partnerships, really. So
now, even on the cultural expedition or the Epicurean, so you may have someone that says, well, I am not a food expert. I'm not a wine expert. I like food and I like wine. Do I have to be, super knowledgeable in order to go and kind of fit in? What would you say to that?
no. The idea is actually whether you're an expert or not. The idea is actually to come and explore and learn and ask all these questions. So the cool part of it, really, because you're sailing with these experts on board, you ask all your questions. They can teach you their secret recipes. They can share, how you can make, let's say, a special sauce, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, or the wine also. The focus is to really educate them for the region and their wines and food. If you're in the cultural expedition, you can learn about the stargazer, right? I mean, we have astronomy specialists, we have storytellers, right? You ask these questions like, I have no idea about the sky. I love my stars, but I'm like, what? So that's an opportunity. Can you imagine that you are traveling with an expert because we have workshops that they teach you. It's not a classroom, nothing boring, but they teach you. That is expedition.
And you make such a good point too. If most people, again, expedition travel is one of the fastest growing segments, which also means, if you look at, generally most people have never gone on an expedition. And I think if you've traveled in other ways, whether it's other type of cruise or even like, a guided tour, what often happens is, when you have an excursion, yes, you have an expert, but Oya, what you're saying, which is very different, these experts are traveling with you. So they are on board the whole time. You're potentially having dinner with them, right? You're just, or breakfast or coffee, where you have access to them. You can ask something that they taught earlier. So that's a very different guest experience, I feel like, than a typical, another way to travel.
Correct. I mean, you will see them with their families if they're traveling with their families, because it sometimes happens. But they do perform. They really do cooking demonstrations. Like the last one that I was on, I just came actually, that those chefs were teaching us how to make a pizza or a pasta, and they just kind of do it. So
Yeah.
like oh, thank you for the slide too.
Yes.
So we can now go a little bit more deeper. As you can see here, when you are in the polar expeditions, Arctic and Antarctica, those regions, because of our experts, and they can be geologists, zoologists, when you are done, you will know, I don't know how many types of birds that you will be seeing. And they point that when you are, let's say, I've done Antarctica twice, and they kind of stop and they, hey, did you see such and such bird? Oh, this is, a different whale. So you will learn all about the different wildlife there, and you will be traveling with them. We're also proud partnership with Orca and Global Penguin Society. And then in the Epicurean, as I was just, mentioning and talking about it, I'm not going to say it again, but yes, we have the gastronomic guests, vintners, chocolatiers. It's all about the food and the wine. And the cultural expeditions, you are in the Northern Europe, that astronomers, museum creators, diplomats, a lot of storytellers. Again, you are traveling with them, and you can ask all these questions about the history, about why it happened. Again, it's a very unique approach. I love the fact that we are year-round expeditions. I don't think everybody else out there is doing the same. So I'm really proud of that. And yeah.
Well, I think that too, is such a great segment into, you've got these three types of expedition, and you have all of the experts, knowledge, all of the ologists checked, right? But what I think is very unique is, you mentioned this yachting experience, right? So that is very different. And now I'm thinking, okay, I'm in much more of a luxury type of vessel here, right? And so I want to talk more about kind of the overall guest experience, right? And the ship itself, the yacht itself, because that's very different, I think, than your typical expedition. So let's get into that a little bit. And when you've got a nice picture behind you, so I'm assuming that's part that must be something of one of the beautiful ships.
Yes. Now, just to remind everybody that our yachts carry less than 200 guests. So maximum capacity, to be specific, is 196 guests. And if you're on the polar expedition, is 175. Okay. That's it. So yachting, and again, when I'm first, I've done 2 christening, by the way, and I've been on our yachts many times. But the first time that I was experiencing it, I had a wow moment that I said, it is not a ship. The hardware itself was a yacht. Mahogany everywhere, open spaces, colors are, they're just beautifully designed, luxurious amenities, all by L'Occitane. We have a sea spa by L'Occitane. So really, when you are, stepping into our yachts, you will feel that it's not your typical cruising, it's yachting. Mm-hmm. And if you also think about a yacht, I don't know if you ever had a yacht cruise yourself or not. Of course, this is much larger than a small yacht or typical yachts. There are many sizes. When you are on a yacht, if it's a yachting, you really get out of the yacht. You're in that destination.
Yeah.
Right? It's luxurious. It's active. You will not have, like decks after decks and hundreds of people around. No, it's all about really just having this comfortable, luxurious environment with like-minded guests on board, and then you just really relax. The hardware is very important, which I was telling about. Like
Mm-hmm.
we build our ships, by the way. I forgot to tell you. We have our own shipyard and we build our ships. So the innovative engineering, innovative technology, it's all about exploration. You are getting out of these beautiful yachts just to be in that destination. If you're in the polar expeditions, for example, just from the yacht, you will be getting on the Zodiac. So you don't waste any time traveling from the ship to the port. You are in that destination, so you explore. You have more time to explore. We have
Mm-hmm.
overnights in many cities in Europe. So that again, it allows you to be with the locals. Another thing that I wanted to mention, that, and it's yachting. Okay, so because at the time of the check-in, you provide your passport information. So
Yep.
anywhere we go, the port authorities already know that we're there. You just get in and out. You go through the port authorities and come back. Get out again, come back again. That's yachting.
There's definitely a level of sophistication, I feel like, and this is going to kind of go into my next question around, who is the Atlas guest, right? Because I think you're hitting on some points, right? There's an expectation, right? That things are seamless, that things are comfortable, that, you have thought about you know, what this guest really wants and how to use their time, right? So I kind of want to get into that because again, there's three different distinct ways to travel with you guys, but I'm assuming there's some common traits, right, among your clients and who chooses Atlas as far as, being an explorer, really wanting to dive in. But, that's really what I'm wondering is who is the Atlas guest?
Thank you for the question. So I also wanted to say proudly that our repeat guest ratio is almost 28%. And I think it's amazing.
That's amazing.
Again, the service level is outstanding. But if I wanted to kind of say that bullseyes, the demographics and the age is, I would say 55 years and up.
Mm-hmm.
In the polar expeditions is more 55, a little bit more maybe younger. But when you're in the warmer waters, it goes up to like 60, 65 years old. But in general, our guests are open-minded. They like exploration. They don't mind meeting with the new, because when you are on board, again, remember, you're sharing this yacht, less than 200 guests. By the third day, almost everybody knows each other. You start talking together, you sit together, you drink together. The crew member knows everybody's names, the personalized, service. It just makes you feel comfortable. We have solo travelers, for example. They never feel that they're just by themselves because, again, it's a yacht. So our guests, they are open-minded, very flexible. They love traveling outside the country.
Mm-hmm.
They like to explore and know different cultures. They like to connect with others. So, I mean, to summarize it, this is what I would say. If you want me to deep, little bit dive, minimum age, for example, is 1 year old on the cultural and Epicurean expeditions. However, we don't have a designated, children's section because it's a yacht. Do we have children? I've seen a lot multi-gen.
That's what I was going to say. That is such a huge trend right now. So although, your average age may be 55, I'm assuming you see, the grandparents, the parents, and maybe they've got college age kids, right? Or high school age kids that want to see this way of traveling.
Even mid school. I mean, again, we've seen a lot of families that multi-gen, grandparents, then the grandchildren, their children, nieces, cousins, they all travel together and they explore together. especially for the meds. It's very popular. And nowadays, also the children, I think they're very curious, right?
Yes.
They wanted to learn more. Because I think the internet world made the world so small that everybody now wants to just get out and explore more. And the kids are the same. So we have seen that a lot. Or honeymooners. Oh my God, they love it. Again, active or adventurous in heart. I have a story that we had a guest, and that was their last bucket list. They were elderly. And I had the question from an advisor saying that, well, they think they will not be able to get out of the yacht and on the Zodiac. They can't, but they can still walk, but they're really elderly. But they want to go to Antarctica and see the penguins. Can they do it? It gives me the goosebumps. I said, absolutely, as long as they are okay staying in the yacht, which is fine, because the yacht is small enough that they were in Antarctica. They were still seeing the penguins, like sitting at the water's edge, because the yachts are designed for that they were just so happy because they have done their bucket list, and I hope they're still enjoying the world. I don't know, but they've done it. So we welcome everyone as long as they are, they can walk by themselves. They are active in their hearts.
Yes.
They're adventurers. We welcome everybody.
Oh,
before I forget, the polar expeditions, the minimum age is 8 years old.
Okay.
That's important.
That's good to know. And, I think kind of getting into you were hitting on a couple of things that I wanted to mention. So people think, of course, expedition, and it's these very hard to reach places, right? And so, we've talked about some of the, cultural and Epicurean where, that may seem a little bit easier to get to. But I want to talk about the logistics, right? Because if people are thinking, I am going to Antarctica, the Arctic, I've got to get all these flights, and then, how do I get to the ship? And then where do I stay the night before? But the good thing is Atlas plans all of that, right? It's really an end-to-end experience for the guest. And I think when you're traveling like this too, you don't want to have, well, now we need to buy this and this and this. There's all these things. It really is end-to-end, everything is included, right? And can you talk more about that and what that's like for the guest as soon as they land, right, and start their trip?
So we're an all-inclusive on-board brand. In every itinerary, because we're an expedition, we want you to immerse yourselves and explore yourself wherever we go. We include in every itinerary one immersive experiences, and we call Atlas Immersive Experience. It can be on board, it can be ashore. If I wanted to give you an example, in Antarctica, for example, you will be taken to Tierra del Fuego. It's a UNESCO Heritage National Park that half a day tour, it's included. Because we want you to learn about that region a little bit more. If you're in the Meds, for example, we have a beautiful concert in Ephesus, or you might be taken to a wine tasting in Sicily. So we really handpick those immersive experiences and include, and every itinerary has one of them. Your excursions, like shore excursions, and again, it's a little bit different when it comes to polar expeditions.
Yeah.
They're not excursions, just leave them aside. I'm talking about Epicurean and cultural expeditions. Then your land excursions are additional. Other than that, all your dinings, your premium beverages, gratuities, 24-hour room service, coffee, tea, anything and anything is all included. I want to take also everybody's attention that we also include the trip delay and medical evacuation. It's not an insurance, but God forbid, if anything happens, our job is, to take you to the hospital. So that's included also. I think that's a great value. So when I was mentioning, depending on the expedition type, we include more. For example, if you're doing polar expeditions for Antarctica, for example, we add 1-night hotel stay in Buenos Aires. So you come one day earlier. That night hotel stay is on us. charter flight from Buenos Aires to Ushuaia round trip is included too. All your Zodiac safaris, your landings, hiking, the polar plunge. We also give a parka to take home. They're all included. So besides always included, we also include additional items or experiences depending on the expedition type.
Right. Which is really fantastic. And I think, it puts a lot of people at ease, especially like you said, the pre-night hotel, then there is an excursion or a tour there, then you have a charter flight. So basically once you land, you're with your group, right? And it's end to end until you're back.
And I also wanted to mention, we were talking a minute ago that our guests, right? So what we have realized over the years that our guests also don't like to be told. I just kind of wanted to mention it here that in many cases, when you're in that destination, not necessarily you wanted to have an excursion, right? You just wanted to get out and have maybe sit down. Let's say you're in an Epicurean expedition. You just wanted to get out, find a little small authentic restaurant or a cafe, sit there and watch or walk around just by yourself. And everybody loves it. So but if you wanted to have an excursion, of course we do provide, and they're small group excursions and they're all additional. So
okay one thing we're talking of course about all these places that you guys travel to. Some are very unique and the most remote places in the world. So I want to talk about sustainability. Obviously there's climate change, things like this. How does what's going on really affect what's Atlas's approach, right, to sustainability? And I know they take that very seriously. And if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yes, sustainability is very important for us. And I'm proud, again, we build our own yachts, and we make sure that they are with the highest technology, like hydrojet propulsions, right? We don't disturb the habitat wherever we go. Hybrid power management, that we maximize the fuel efficiency. It's really very important. We reduce the emissions. GPS-based dynamic positioning, that we don't even have to anchor anywhere, because that the dynamic positioning will help us. So again, we don't anchor. It means that we are not disturbing the seabed. It's important. Or the conservation of the water, energy. When you're on board, if they are available, sometimes we do the ship tour for our guests. We have the open deck policy, and also again sometimes it's not available, but 80 to 90% we have the open deck policy, or the engine room. So our crew member, they really talk about and they show you how we do it. Like wastewater treatment system, when I first learned about it, I said, oh my God, that is amazing. Also,
who would have thought?
Yeah. Oh my God. So sustainability is very important for us. We are, a member of the Association of Antarctica Tour Operators, Association of Arctic Expedition Cruise Operators, and also we do work with the local communities to make sure that we really support each other without disturbing anything. And also single-use plastic also is very important. Like in every stateroom, everywhere you will find, we have the Atlas reusable bottles, right? And you can fill it out every time you're coming or going, leaving the yacht, for you to use and to take home. So it's very important. Sustainability is important. And we do our part as much as we can.
I love that. I feel like we've covered so much in such a short period of time, and I've got like a little rapid fire round of questions for you, Oya. So
yes,
my first is going to be, if someone doesn't think they are the expedition type and they're not sure, would I like this kind of travel? What would you say to them?
Well, travel for me is really exploration. So if someone doesn't like expedition, I would probably say probably they didn't understand what really it means.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do and they still don't want to, then I would say um, then maybe they shouldn't travel. I mean, I shouldn't say that. No,
There's that directness we love.
I'm being sarcastic. No,
No, I
I
know.
mean, there's always a travel type for everyone, right? It's not only because expedition is small, intimate, more exploration. Some people they may say that, you know what, I want to gamble. I like big ships. I like the water slides. I don't care about the destination. It's all about the ship experience. Perfect. There are so many brands out there and they're doing an amazing job. They are. But when it comes to expedition, I think all the travelers should also understand that their expectations should be to explore the destination, to learn about the destination, rather than having, a ship experience. Does it make sense? I hope I answered
It
you.
makes so much sense, and I think that's so important to. There is a very big difference. One is not right or wrong. It is different. So knowing exactly what you mentioned, what is it that you want? What is it that you're looking for? What is expedition and what is it not? And like you mentioned, the ship is not the destination. However, you think of it more like a five-star hotel, right? Because it's
Yes.
it's very luxurious, it's very comfortable, everything's taken care of for you, but you are really there to explore the destination. That is the biggest difference. And the number of guests, but that goes back to the intimacy and the immersion, right? You're not with 3,000 of your best friends, you're with 196 of your new friends.
Exactly. No, but exactly. So my humble suggestion to everyone who's listening is probably really just know yourself and define what travel is for you. Because travel changes people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how you do it. You can go a safari, you can do a backpack and just, get a just travel and drive, or you can have an expedition, or you can have a big ship. It doesn't matter. Travel changes people's lives, right? And it goes back to you. How do you want it to do it? Do you want
Yeah.
it to do it in a more intimate way, in a luxurious but yet very relaxed and exploration and connecting probably better? Or is it really that you don't care about that? You like more people because you don't like intimacy.
Yeah.
Once you realize that, then I think you will find the best option for you, best match for you. That's, I would say.
Yeah. And I think it does change over time too. I know it has for me personally. I think, as time goes on, or even the more places you see, and you get exposed to the different ways to travel, right? So again, yes, expedition's been around for a long time and there's companies that have been doing it for over 100 years. But I think for maybe the majority of people they're not well versed in what is actually out there, right? What are all of my options for traveling this way or seeing these parts of the world? I think it's relatively unknown, right? I think to the the average person. And so I'm so excited for conversations like these with people like you that are doing this and that are the experts and have such an amazing product to bring for people to see the world in a completely different way.
So
And so,
I want to give you, I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. I
nope,
want to give you two examples. I
yeah,
think it's going to make a little bit more better. And um, for example, for Antarctica, because of our ship size, we really go in the peninsula. You get out and you step and walk on the land.
yeah,
If you choose a larger ship, they're not allowed to come close. You just see by. If you're really following the news, also all these like Arctic, also they all started bringing bans and more that the larger ones will not be able to even go. Okay, so this is number one. Number two, if you're thinking about, let's say, Epicurean expedition, same thing. Like we can still go in Venice, where others are really docking all the way out, and like an hour and a half you have to bus drive, and then you
Mhm.
have maybe a couple of hours in Venice, and you have to go back because you have, the all aboard is, let's say, at 4 p.m. You're not there. But with us, for example, I'm just giving you an example,
This
because
is
we're
perfect.
small enough. You're in Venice. You just get out, water taxi is right there, and you're in that destination. So you see the differences. So when you're making any decision for your future travel, look what you want.
Hmm.
Those are details, but it is very important. Sorry,
And
I needed to
I
give
think
those
that's
two
perfect
examples.
because, yeah, I think it's this insider access, right? That even if you see, something on an itinerary with a particular company, right? Again, Antarctica, well, how big is it? So you may just be sailing by, like you said, because there are regulations in place that only so many people can be there at one time and get off. So that's important. And like you said, you may see Venice on an itinerary, but, you may be taking a bus for an hour and a half versus
Right.
just, docking there and getting out and, you're in your gondola in 5 minutes.
Exactly.
Well, this is a good segue into, what do you think the future of expedition travel looks like? I feel like, Atlas is already doing such a great job. You're a relatively new company. However, how you're shaping expedition travel, where yes, you do the polar regions and you do them very well, but again, the whole year-round concept, the Epicurean and the cultural. So, what does that look like for Atlas, or just what's your perspective on the future?
We're growing, and because again, it's a growing segment anyway. We have 3 yachts now, and we're in the works of adding more. What I'm seeing is, more and more other companies are bringing more expedition, which means like smaller ships. They're focusing on that. But for Atlas's future, we are already in the process of, kind of building some more ships. And we will be expanding to the rest of the world. We're at the moment only in the transatlantic, if I may say, like polar to polar, and then
Yep.
in between in the map, if you remember. So the future plan is kind of expanding it to maybe Asia or somewhere else, but it's in the book. So we're in the growth pattern with God's willing. But
Yes.
but I'm seeing that it's exploding and it will not stop, because I'm seeing more and more. I think people started realizing being on an expedition um, ship is really much different than it's just a cruising. It's different.
It is.
It's different.
And I think, you kind of hit on it a little bit. I mean, just the fact that you guys are, adding more ships, going into more of these destinations, I think just speaks to, you know, travelers at heart right now. And, people would rather spend their money on these experiences than maybe on things, right? And, we reference the pandemic a lot, but I think that really taught everyone, life is short, right? You never know what's going to happen. The world is big and small at the same time. And now there are actual ways to get to these places that we could have never gone to before. And you can do it in such style, which that is my way.
Exactly. When you're on board, you're not gonna want to leave, and you're gonna just say, "Can I continue?" And it happens. It's so funny. It happens. We have some guests. They say, where this ship now goes after the disembarkation?" They tell, "Well, we're gonna be going another 7 days. Can we extend?"
Yeah.
Yeah, they just stay on board. They don't leave, because you can work if you don't have to go to an office, right? Again, I love the technology. You have your Wi-Fi, you can still work, and you can just travel.
Well, I think that's such a good point too. I mean, again, you think about Antarctica, right? Less than 1% of people will ever get there. So again, you're thinking, first of all, it's, the ends of the earth. We're never going here. But the fact that you have high-speed internet, you could actually be working, taking a call, potentially a Zoom. Maybe someone's in Antarctica listening to us right now, right? Like, how unbelievable is that you can actually do that?
Yes. Whenever it's available, is, you're in a remote destination, Antarctica, whenever
Yes.
it's available, yes, you will have the high speed
Yeah.
internet.
There's an asterisk next to that, right? So we're
Yes, I have to
100%
say it.
guaranteed.
I have to say it. I have to say it.
Oh, that's amazing. Um, Gosh, I feel like we have just covered so much, just kind of thinking about, I guess, in closing, because we've sort of, looked at all the questions and we've answered so much, what is your top thing? What do you want people to leave this session with? What do you want them to remember, to know? Kind of what are your final thoughts?
Well, as I was mentioning, travel changes people's lives. However you wanted to do it, whenever you can, continue traveling. Don't you ever stop traveling and exploring the world. It really doesn't matter with Atlas. I mean, we would love to welcome you on board, all of you. Um, but don't stop traveling, really. Learn about the other cultures, learn about, explore more so that we can understand each other as human beings and we can become more kinder. Like, kindness is very important, right? But the more cultures that you learn about, the more that you change. And when you change, you become more open minded and we forgive more. So continue traveling. However you wanted to do, don't stop. Just travel.
I couldn't agree with you more. I often think the world would be such a better place if people just traveled more,
Yep.
because it does all the things to you that you just said that, I think we struggle with a lot right now. So I agree, obviously my expedition series is all around that kind of travel, but I couldn't agree with you more, whether that's to just a different city, a different state, or if you can get out and really see, the more you do it, the better you are. And I think,
Yes.
if you've got a family too, kids, things like that, showing them that, as at a young age, I think is important, right? Because you start to instill those values and having a respect for different kinds of people, different places in the world. That's where it starts. You have to see it. You can read about things, you can talk about things, but I think until you experience them personally, it's hard sometimes to wrap your mind around that. But when you're sitting next to someone in a completely different place of the world, maybe a different language, it really changes your perspective.
Yes. Yes, it does. So
Oh,
yeah, it just gives me the
I know. Oya, I just have to say, this has just been so amazing. And I just appreciate you and this conversation. Obviously, Atlas is a phenomenal company. The product you have, how you guys are helping people see the world. I mean, hands down, right? Like chef's kiss. Like, that's just amazing. But just the conversation, I just want to say thank you. Your
Thank
passion
you.
for this just comes across in how you speak about this.
Thank you. It's really, it's an honor. It's a pleasure for me to be here. And I don't know, the world is beautiful. So you're beautiful. And thank you
Oh,
for having me. Yes.
well, where are you going next?
Um, well, I just came from 12 days of President's Cruise. I was in the French Riviera, Italian Riviera, and then Greece. But then the next one will be actually Falklands. And yes, so, I have I have a horrible job.
You have a horrible job. Speaking of, I think I just saw something where, of course there's, itineraries out for 2026. And did I see 2027 is already out,
Yes, 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 yes. The whole
which is
season.
amazing. And, I don't know when everyone's going to be watching this. Of course, it's recorded, but, some of these, again, not some of these, a lot of these trips, right, they're big trips. They're for maybe longer than what you would typically travel for. And so the fact that you can already see what's coming out in 2027 and start to plan that, right? And really think about, you've got a lot of time, right? So I just don't want, I never want someone to think it's impossible, right? Whether it's from, a time perspective or, again, these are big investments, but you've got time, right? And you can already see what's available in
Exactly.
2027. I think that's amazing.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm so happy that we deployed the 2027 So if anybody wants to go to the, explore the polar expeditions, we have it. Epicurean or cultural expeditions, we have it. And so yeah,
Well, actually, we'll pull up a slide real quick with our contact information, my contact information. We have Atlas's website there as well. And then if you scan the QR code, that's going to take you to some really great content that kind of goes over what's available now in some of the voyages. So, of course, if anyone has any questions, please reach out to contact me. I think one of the great benefits is that I have access to Oya, right? She is direct with Atlas. So please, 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 I would love to help you get on board one of their beautiful yachts and explore these destinations. And we want that, more than anything. But the fact that, Oya is, now my BFF in the travel industry, right? So any questions, anything you need to know, I've got her on speed dial. So
yes, I'm always here. You know that. So it would be
yes.
my pleasure to helping you. And remember, because of the occupancies, our capacity is so little. We sell out, especially for some very unique destinations. Our itineraries are very unique anyway, but there are some like hot ones. They sell out so fast. So
Yep.
the earlier is the better, and you have time. You can just pay as you go, and it's okay.
Yep, exactly. Well, thank you again for your time. Thank you everyone for joining. This has been another amazing conversation with Everything Expedition Live, and we will see you in the next episode. Thank you, Oya.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.